Discover the incredible journey. Single dad opens his heart to college girl. Unbeknownst, she's the key to his daughter's future. Jack stood at the edge of the college fair, heart racing, the noise around him a cacophony of dreamers and doubters. He felt out of place, a weary soldier in a battle he didn't know how to fight. The hum of conversations drummed in his ears as he stared at the colorful brochures, symbols of opportunities he had scarcely dared to dream of for his daughter, Sarah. Single fatherhood had been a relentless grind, and his face, a map of worry lines, spoke of long nights, heartache, and fierce determination. "Come on, Dad. Just look," Sarah urged, tugging at his sleeve, her bright eyes flickering with hope. She was a teenager brimming with dreams and potential, but lately Jack could see the shadows creeping in. They were mired in financial uncertainty, the local factory, their lifeblood, threatening to shut down. Every day felt heavier than the last. He took a deep breath, following her into the chaos. It was a sight to behold. College recruiters eager to scoop up the fresh talent, but for Jack this felt like a foreign land. He watched as Sarah huddled over a table with a young woman named Emily. Her laughter rang out, a sweet melody cutting through his doubts. There was something about Emily's radiant smile, a fierce ambition flickering in her eyes, and Jack couldn't help but feel a faint glimmer of hope. As they roamed from table to table, Jack listened to Sarah share their dreams with Emily, sharing her aspirations about becoming a writer and escaping the confines of their town. Jack couldn't bear the weight of his own fears. "What if we can't afford college, Sarah?" he murmured, his heart aching with the weight of reality. "Don't think like that, Dad," she shot back, her voice firm. "We'll find a way." But as the sun dipped low and shadows danced around them, Jack knew the truth. The world was changing, and so was their community. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as Jack felt a semblance of hope brewing, calamity struck Rockford. Smoke billowed from the old factory, flames licking at the machinery that had provided for so many families. Panic ensued, echoed by cries of disbelief. Jack's heart raced as he thought of Sarah, her dreams flickering like those flames. The town stood divided, anger and desperation becoming the air they breathed. Jack faced a crucial choice. Should he safeguard Sarah's innocence and the comfort of their life, or should he dare to open up to the possibility of a brighter future, one that could come with Emily's guidance and connections? As Jack stood at this crossroads, whispers began swirling. Emily's heritage, tied up with the town's history, started to unravel. It was a delicate tapestry, rife with pride and blame. Jack felt a connection form, but also a rift widen. The lines of class and expectation threatened to blur deeper as the consequences of their relationship loomed. When everything crumbled, and the stakes felt unbearably high, who would Jack choose to protect? His heart clenched, teetering on the edge of a decision that could either heal or shatter the fragile bonds of love and loyalty within his family. As the town held its collective breath, Jack understood that the answer would change everything, both for him and the community they called home. As the flames flickered against the darkening sky, Jack felt the weight of impending loss settle heavily on his chest. The chaos around him was deafening, shouts and sirens intertwining, transforming the ordinary college fair into a scene of devastation. People rushed to get their loved ones, their faces painted with panic. Jack's mind spun as he grasped the implications of the factory fire. Layoffs, uncertainty, and the shattering of dreams. He turned to Sarah, her face a mixture of confusion and fear. The hope of college seemed to dim as reality slapped them both with harsh truth. "Stay close to me," he urged, pulling her to his side. 5 words that felt inadequate in the overwhelming terror of that moment. Emily, still radiant even amidst chaos, approached them with a furrowed brow. "Are you two okay?" she asked, her voice steady. Jack felt a flicker of warmth from her presence, a contrast to the stark reality around them. "We're fine," he replied, though doubt crept into his voice. "But the factory?" She nodded, her keen eyes scanning the scene. "I heard it was bad. My dad, is he all right?" Sarah interrupted, concern softening her earlier enthusiasm. Emily hesitated, taking a breath. I don't know. But we'll find out. Jack watched her face. Her worries reflected some of his own. But there was another layer, an urge to help, to connect, even in this turmoil. For a moment the chaos around them faded, and it was just Emily and Sarah, sharing the worry of what tomorrow might hold. Jack cleared his throat, breaking the moment. What's next? Should we try to get to safety? Maybe we should head to the community center, Emily suggested. They'll have resources there. People who can help. We can figure things out together. As they began to move, Jack could feel the pull of Emily's presence. There was bravery in her resolve, an energy that seemed to dissolve some of his worries. Perhaps she could be the bridge to new hopes for Sarah. Could their connection be a turning point amid the destruction? As they approached the community center, looters took advantage of the chaos, and tensions flared among the crowd. Jack's heart raced. We should stay vigilant, he said, gripping Sarah's hand tighter. What if this desperation morphed into something darker? With each step, the uncertainty of the future loomed larger. Could they even dream about college now? Or would it all be snuffed out amidst the flames of reality? Things could change quickly, he muttered to himself. At the center, familiar faces turned into a mosaic of worry and determination. He spotted their neighbors, the Johnsons, and the older couple who ran the diner. His heart sank. These were people he knew well, people who had shared in their joys and struggles throughout the years. Do you think we'll bounce back? Sarah's voice broke through his thoughts. She stood looking up at him, hope and fear playing out in her green eyes. Jack felt the burden of that question, a weight he didn't want to crush her with. I don't know, honey, but it's vital we stick together. You and I, Emily. Whoever else needs us. He meant it. They would face whatever came next as a unit. That commitment ignited something deep within him, a spark of resilience even in the face of despair. As the townspeople huddled together, shared stories began to swirl amidst the uncertainty. Jack turned to Emily, excitement intermingled with fear. What do you think we need to do? She paused, her eyes alight. First we take care of each other. Then we bring hope back to this town. Just then a man burst through the doors, breathless and incredulous. You won't believe what I just heard. Something that could change everything. Jack's heart quickened. Was this the turning point they all needed? Or just another layer of uncertainty muddling their path forward? Jack barely had time to process the man's words before the crowd turned to listen, a wave of curiosity rippling through the room. The man, panting and wild-eyed, swayed slightly as he gripped the doorframe for support. What is it? What did you hear? Someone shouted, breaking the silence that had unfurled in the room. The man lifted his hand, shushing the anxious murmurs. I heard that the factory might not be lost for good. They think there's a chance they can rebuild if the damage isn't as severe as we've been led to believe. Hope sparked in Jack's chest, but it was quickly muted by doubt. Is that for real? He asked aloud, scanning the faces that surrounded him. Can they really fix it? They're sending in a team to inspect the damage, but it'll take time. The man continued, excitement threading through his voice. They might even retain most of the employees if they find a way forward. Jack exchanged glances with Sarah, whose eyes were wide, reflecting a mixture of hope and skepticism. Emily's expression mirrored his own, cautious optimism draped over a stark reality. What if it's not true? Sarah asked, her voice low. What if the factory is still gone? Then we figure it out, Jack said, trying to sound more certain than he felt. We find new jobs, new paths. We keep pushing. He squeezed her hand, feeling the warmth of support waning as uncertainty settled in once more. The man spoke again, breaking Jack's spiraling thoughts. I know this sounds crazy to hope for, but if we can stay motivated, if we pull together, we can make it work. Together, Emily murmured, and Jack could see her mind racing with possibilities. That's the key, isn't it? If we stick together, even if things fall apart, we can rebuild our lives here. Around them, people began to murmur in agreement. Fear began to melt slightly, replaced with whispers of dreams restored. Jack felt buoyed by this collective spirit. For the first time since the fire, he began to believe that maybe, just maybe, the town could heal. So what's our first step? Jack asked, looking towards the man who had shared the news as if he held a map to their next adventure. Well, we need to form a task force, the man replied, gaining confidence from the crowd's response. We have to communicate with factory owners, gather information, and rally support from the community. Others chimed in, volunteering to help organize, to reach out, to mend the threads of their community and begin sewing hope back together. Jack's heart lifted at their determination. But amidst this flicker of hope, a burning question nagged at him. What would they do in the interim? People needed money now, bills needed to be paid. Would they have to scale down their dreams? He clenched his jaw, pushing down the gnawing anxiety. The uncertainty was still looming, but at least they had a plan. As he turned to Emily, he met her eyes, which were growing bright with new ideas. We can't let this define us, she said firmly. No matter what happens, if we focus on being together and looking out for each other, we can find a way. Jack felt a swell of respect for her resilience. Her belief ignited something within him, a longing to protect this fragile thread of hope. Just then a shrill voice broke through the discussion. A woman from the back shouted, "What if it's too late? What if the damage is already done? We need to prepare for the worst." Jack could see the shift in the crowd. Fear shadowed the earlier optimism. The noise of unease grew once more, shattering the fragile beginnings of unity. "Wait," Jack called out, desperate to steer them back. "We can't stop believing now. Not when we just started to fight for our future." But as he spoke, a doubt crept into his thoughts. Could they really persevere when faced with such overwhelming uncertainty? As hope danced precariously on a tightrope, Jack knew he had to gather himself. They needed to stand even taller, even more united. "Let us take it one step at a time," he said, trying to quell the storm brewing in the room. "Let us focus on what we can do today. We'll face tomorrow when it comes." Unbeknownst to him, the real test was approaching, and the hardest decisions were just around the corner. Would they bend or break? And how far would he go for his friends if the flames came to claim the dreams of those he loved? The room fell silent as Jack's words hung in the air, each person grappling with the weight of uncertainty. He glanced around, meeting the eyes of friends and neighbors, each set reflecting a fragile mix of hope and fear. He felt a pulse of determination swell within him. This was more than just about the factory, it was about their lives, their community. "Let us not dive into the worst-case scenario just yet," he urged, his voice steadying. "We can do this. We stick together, right? We're stronger as a team." A man stepped forward from the throng. "What do we do about work, though? We can't wait weeks for news. Kids need food on the table." His voice was a heavy burden, echoing what everyone else was thinking. "We need a plan," Sarah chimed in, taking Jack's lead. "Maybe we can start with temporary work. The diner is hiring. I heard the grocery store could use extra hands. We can band together to help each other find short-term jobs while we wait. What if we pooled resources?" Emily suggested, her voice rising with each word. "A community fund or just a shared resource list. If we share gigs, we can support each other until longer-term solutions come through. We can't just wait and hope." Jack felt the electricity in the room shift slightly. Ideas crackled through the gathered crowd like pop rocks in candy. He noticed people nodding, conversations sparking up around him again. They were digging deep. "Exactly. And let us host a town meeting next week," Jack said, growing bold. "We'll launch the task force and we'll see how many people want to help out. We can organize rides to jobs, even babysitting for those who need it." The murmurs grew again, now tinged with an ember of excitement. "And let us create a schedule," Sarah added enthusiastically. "To keep everyone informed, we can generate buzz on social media and community boards. Sharing our strengths can position us for what's next." Jack marveled at how quickly the atmosphere had shifted. Hope was weaving its way back into the fabric of their community. "Let's South meet at my place tomorrow evening," Emily announced. "We can jot down everyone's skills and see exactly how we can help one another. Make a plan that's not just about surviving but thriving. This isn't just about waiting for the factory to reopen. It's about us." Jack felt a swell of pride and admiration for Emily. Her passion was contagious. He could sense the group rallying, leaning into the promise of collaboration rather than isolation. Moments later, as they began to disperse, Jack felt a lightness take root in his chest, the stress that had consumed him easing, if only a little. They had a blueprint now, a tangible way to navigate this uncertainty together. But just as they started to part ways, A sharp gasp pierced the air. A figure stood at the entrance, silhouetted against the light flooding in behind them. The town's mayor, Mr. Thompson, looked like he'd just run a marathon. His face flushed and a frown creasing his brow. "Jack. Everyone," he called, urgency threading his words. "I need to talk to you about the factory and the danger level of the damage reported." Everyone froze, the flicker of hope they had begun to cultivate turning into frozen trepidation. Jack's heart sank. This was the moment they had all dreaded. This was not just about rebuilding anymore. It was about facing the reality of a future that was hanging by a thread. "What danger?" Jack asked, stepping forward, his resolve hardening against the sudden chill creeping through the room. Mr. Thompson hesitated, and Jack noticed a flash of uncertainty cross his face. "I can't delay this news. There are things we didn't know before." Jack felt his stomach drop. What was coming next? The hope they had just fought for threatened to unravel, and the looming shadows of fear began to creep back in. He took a deep breath, bracing himself for what might change everything they had just begun to build. Could they face the truth that was about to come barreling through the doors? Would he have enough strength for what lay ahead? Jack felt the weight in the air as Mr. Thompson cleared his throat. The urgency in his eyes made Jack's hands clench into fists, bracing for the blow. "The damage? It could be worse than we thought. The factory may never reopen," he said, his words coming out in hurried gasps, as if the truth was desperate to escape. "Structural failures, contamination. We're facing serious issues. Workers will need to find new jobs. Fast." A sharp intake of breath rippled through the crowd. Jack turned to see Sarah's face pale, her hands trembling slightly at her sides. Emily looked as if someone had punched the air from her lungs. The optimism they had just woven together felt ripped apart, strands of hope floating away like dandelions in the wind. "What are we going to do?" A voice quivered from the back. "This can't be it. We need that factory." Jack felt a roar building inside him as he looked around, taking in the groups of wide eyes staring back at him. "We won't give up," he shouted, clenching his jaw. "This news is hard, but we have each other. We've already started making plans. Let us stick to that." It was like he threw a line out and people started to grasp it again. "I'm going to do whatever it takes," Emily declared, her voice rising with renewed strength. "I have contacts in town. I'll reach out and see who can help us." "Me too," Sarah chimed in, her confidence building. "I don't care if I have to take extra shifts. I'll find a way to keep us afloat." Jack felt a spark of hope flicker back to life. "We're a family here. We have skills, determination, and the willpower to find new paths. It's not the end, just a new beginning." He looked to Mr. Thompson. "What can the town do to support everyone? This isn't just about the factory anymore. It's about the people." The mayor nodded slowly, the weight of their reality etched on his face. "We'll set up a job fair. Local businesses have to know we're in crisis. We'll also need volunteers to help organize these resources and support the families affected." The idea hung in the air like a lifeline. Suddenly, Jack could see it, a collective effort. Hands joined across the community. "Let us rally the troops," someone shouted from the back, igniting cheers among the crowd. As conversations erupted around the room, Jack felt a wave of energy. They had been pushed into the depths of despair, but here they were, rising again. It was beautiful, exhilarating even. Mr. Thompson glanced around at the renewed determination. "Let us meet again tomorrow night, and we'll start mapping out our plans. Together we can make sure no one is left behind." Everyone nodded, murmurs of agreement flowing. Jack felt his heart swell with pride. As the group began to disperse, he caught Emily's eye. Her expression was bright, and despite the darkness overshadowing them, there was a light in her gaze. "Thank you, Jack," she whispered as they moved to leave, "for reminding us what we can do together." He smiled, but a twist of concern tugged at him. What if this wasn't enough? As they stepped out into the cool night air, he wondered how far their bonds would stretch before they snapped under strain. As they parted ways, Jack's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number flashed on the screen. "You need to know the truth about the factory. It's worse than you think. Meet me tomorrow." His stomach sank. What truth lay buried in the shadows? Would this take them further down the rabbit hole? Or could it be the answer they'd been searching for? Jack woke up the next morning with a sense of dread clinging to him. He couldn't shake the unease that had settled in his gut after reading that message. Who sent it? What could possibly be worse than the devastation they already faced with the factory? His mind raced as he got ready for the day, his thoughts circling like a hawk waiting to swoop. He stepped outside into the early morning light. The world felt too calm, too normal for what was brewing beneath the surface of their small town. Birds chirped and neighbors walked by waving cheerfully. Jack forced a smile, but instead of the warmth he used to feel among friends, he sensed a growing distance. They were all supposed to be in this together, yet here he stood, grappling with a storm that no one else could see. The factory loomed in the distance, a hollow shell that had once buzzed with life. Jack's heart ached at the thought of all the memories tied to its walls, the laughter of workers and the rhythm of machines. Their lives had revolved around it. Now its silence felt like a cloud ready to rain heavy and oppressive. After a quick breakfast, he decided he couldn't wait until tonight's meeting. He needed answers and fast. Slipping into his truck, he drove through town with a sense of purpose, even as anxiety thrummed at his temples. His fingers drummed against the steering wheel, and the engine's sound was a cacophony against his racing heart. Arriving at the coffee shop, Jack spotted Emily sitting at a table near the window, her laptop open and her brow furrowed with concentration. She looked up, and her expression shifted from focus to a blend of surprise and warmth. "Hey Jack. You're early. I needed to talk about the factory," Jack replied, not wanting to waste time with small talk. He slid into the seat across from her, his voice dropping. "Have you heard any rumors? Anything that could indicate what might have happened?" Emily leaned forward, her blue eyes widening. "I've been digging around. There's chatter about some safety inspections that came back with red flags. But," her expression faltered, "it sounds way more serious. Some people are saying it was more than just wear and tear." A chill crept up Jack's spine. More than just wear and tear? Yeah, things like neglect, or maybe she hesitated, scanning the cafe for eavesdroppers. Maybe something being covered up. Jack shook his head. Why would anyone do that? Power and profit, Jack. They often come before people, she said, her voice steady now, as if she had a revelation of her own. Just then a text buzzed on Jack's phone. He saw the unknown number again. "Don't wait until it's too late. Meet me at the old mill at noon." His heart raced. This couldn't just be coincidence. "Emily, I need to go meet someone," he blurted out, glancing at the clock. "But can you keep an ear to the ground for me? We might be dealing with something bigger than we thought." "Jack, wait. Be careful," she called as he stood up. The urgency in her voice sent a tremor of fear through him. He nodded, though he felt fear coiling in the pit of his stomach. Would he find answers or more questions? The old mill was long abandoned, and the echoes of the past hung heavy in its shadow, much like the uncertainties looming over his community. As he drove toward the mill, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that whatever awaited him could change everything. He steeled himself for revelations that might rip apart the fabric of the life he had fought to protect. What awaited him in that old, decaying structure? Would the truth draw them closer together? Or would it tear their fragile hope completely apart? Jack pulled into the gravel lot of the old mill, the crunch beneath his tires mirroring the chaos churning inside him. Sunlight struggled to break through the thick, overhanging trees, casting the space in an eerie half-light. Dust motes danced lazily in the few rays that managed to penetrate the shadows. He stepped out of the truck, his breath hitching as he gazed at the time-worn structure. It felt as if the mill was holding its own secrets, whispering about long-forgotten stories. He pushed open the creaking door and ventured inside, the smell of mold and decay hitting him like a wave. Old machinery lay in disarray, the rusted tools of labor now mere remnants of the past. Jack swallowed hard, his heart racing, as he scanned the dimly lit interior. Where was this mysterious messenger? "Jack," a voice called out from the darkness, pulling him from his anxious thoughts. He turned to see a figure slip into the light, a man, older and rugged, with a weary but resolute look in his eyes. "You got my message. Glad you came. Who are you?" Jack asked, trying to keep his voice steady. The man stepped closer, his features becoming clearer, the lines on his face telling tales of hardship. "I'm Tom. I used to work at the factory just like you," he said, extending a hand. Hesitating only briefly, Jack shook it. I know it seems crazy to meet here, but what I found out isn't safe to discuss in town. Are you saying it has to do with the factory? Jack pressed, urgency lacing his tone. Tom nodded gravely. When they shut us down, it wasn't just about bad management. Something else is going on. I came across documents that show it's been underreporting incidents for years. Jack's stomach twisted. What do you mean? Like injuries? Worse, Tom said, lowering his voice to a near whisper. I'm talking about environmental violations. Toxic waste, Jack. People's health is at stake. They're trying to keep it under wraps to save their own skins. Jack's mind reeled. He had seen too many families affected by the factory shutdown. If this was true, it was more than he could bear. Why should I trust you? Tom took a step back, raising his hands in surrender. I get it, but there's a reason I reached out to you specifically. I know you care about this town, about the people. We can't let them keep silencing us. As the weight of Tom's words settled in, Jack felt a flicker of determination ignite within him. What do we do? Tom glanced toward the door with a cautious look. We gather more evidence. We expose this to the public. But it'll take all of us. I have contacts who can help, people who care. It's risky, but it's our shot. Jack's heart raced, the fear mingling with a renewed sense of purpose. This was bigger than him. This was about those he loved, their futures intertwined with the fate of their town. But there was a lingering question: what would the fallout be? Would he find the strength to fight back against the looming giants in the shadows? Or would they crush him in the process? Before he could voice his concerns, a noise echoed from outside, sharp and sudden. Both men froze, exchanging nervous glances. They weren't alone. Who's out there? Jack whispered, feeling the tension rise. Tom's eyes widened with alarm as he stepped back towards the walls. We need to hide. Now. With adrenaline pulsing through him, Jack's decision was clear. Standing up for what was right meant facing the danger head-on. But would he have the chance to uncover the full truth? Or would they be silenced before they could even start? As they ducked behind a stack of crates, Jack's heart pounded in time with the footsteps approaching the entrance. What awaited them wasn't just a moment of danger. It held the potential to change everything they believed about their lives and the fight ahead. Would they expose the truth before it was too late? Jack held his breath, feeling the world shrink around him. The footsteps grew louder, echoing off the chipped walls of the mill. Each step sent a surge of adrenaline coursing through his veins. Who could it be? Was it someone from the factory? Or worse, someone connected to whatever dark secrets lay hidden within those walls? Tom's eyes darted around, searching for an escape route. Jack felt a twinge of panic clawing at his chest. This couldn't be how it all ended. They had just begun to uncover the truth, and now, standing in the shadows like a couple of scared mice, it felt like they might just fall into the jaws of danger. Suddenly, the door creaked open wider, flooding the room with harsh light. A figure stood silhouetted against the bright opening. Jack couldn't see the face clearly, but the body language spoke volumes, confident, almost swaggering. They were here for business, and it wasn't the kind of business Jack wanted to be part of. Tom squeezed Jack's shoulder, a silent signal to remain quiet. Jack could feel the weight of Tom's anxiety, the urgency leaching into him as well. They listened intently, heartbeats synchronized with the heavy footfalls that now entered the building. "Simon, we know you're here," the intruder called out, the voice deep and somehow familiar. "You can't hide from us." Jack's heart sank. They were looking for them. But who were they? What did they want? Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Tom tense up, his jaw set with newfound determination. It was clear Tom had faced these people before. Maybe this wasn't his first battle. "Jack," Tom whispered, drawing him closer. "If they find us, we're done. We need to slip out the back. Can you do that?" Jack nodded, muscles tensing as he mapped their path in his mind. Stealthily, they crept along the dusty floor, trying to remain as still as shadows. The figure had moved further into the mill, leaving the doorway unguarded for a brief moment. "Ready?" Tom urged. With a deep breath, Jack whispered, "Ready." They darted toward the door, heartbeats racing, a confusing mix of fear and adrenaline driving them. The outside air hit Jack like a slap, invigorating yet terrifying. It felt like freedom, yet it was temporary danger pursued them still. They sprinted across the gravel lot, the crunching rocks beneath their feet the loudest sound in the oppressive quiet of the mill's looming presence behind them. Jack glanced over his shoulder, half expecting to see the silhouette chasing after them. But the entrance remained dark and foreboding, the weight of the mill pressing heavily on their minds. They reached Jack's truck, and without wasting a moment, Tom clambered into the passenger seat. "Drive," he said, urgency lining his face. Jack jumped behind the wheel, his hands shaking slightly as he turned the key. The engine roared to life, and they shot out of the lot, gravel spraying behind them as they sped down the road. As they drove, the gravity of their discovery weighed heavily in the silence of the truck. Jack had always loved this town, cherished it for the people, the memories, the roots. But now it felt like they stood on a precipice, and the fate of not just the mill but everyone hung in the balance. "Where do we go now?" Jack asked, the tension still simmering beneath his words. Tom stared out the window, deep in thought. "We need to find my contacts. They'll help us piece this together. But we have to be careful." Jack's mind raced. Each new revelation seemed to deepen the mystery. They were up against something far bigger than either of them had anticipated. They couldn't afford to make any mistakes. Just as thoughts tumbled through Jack's head, Tom's phone buzzed violently in the center console, shattering the silence. Tom's eyes widened, a mix of hope and fear flickering across his face as he reached for it. "What if it's them?" Jack muttered, apprehensive. Tom picked it up, staring at the screen. His face went pale. "It's not good, Jack. We need to take this call now." The road ahead felt uncertain, and Jack wondered if they were truly ready for what lay before them. Were they prepared for the truth they sought? Or were they stepping deeper into a trap? "Let's hope we're not out of the frying pan and into the fire," Jack quipped, his voice stronger than the fear inside him. As Tom answered, the shadows of the past and the specter of looming danger seemed to close in once more. Would they find the help they needed? Or would their journey lead them to a reckoning they could never escape? Tom held the phone close to his ear, his expression shifting as he listened intently. Jack's heart raced, watching him closely as uncertainty filled the small truck. For a moment it felt like the world outside had faded away, leaving only the two of them suspended in time. He could almost hear the silence stretch, thick and heavy. "Listen to me," Tom said, his voice low and urgent. "We're in a bind. I need your help." He nodded as the caller spoke. Jack could only wonder who was on the other end, what connection Tom had with this unknown ally, and if it could mean salvation or doom. Tom's expression turned serious, his brow furrowing deeply. "No, I don't care about that. We have to move. Fast." He shot a glance at Jack, and for a split second, the fear in his eyes mirrored Jack's own. Would they be heading into even more danger? "What's going on?" Jack pressed as Tom hung up. "The guy on the line wants to meet us. He's got information about the mill and the people connected to it." Tom paused, weighing his words. "But it's not safe here. We have to go somewhere else." "Where? Is it even worth it?" Jack replied, skepticism creeping into his voice. Tom took a deep breath, the weight of his thoughts evident in his clenched jaw. "This isn't just about us anymore. It's about what's at stake, the lives of everyone in this town. If what we found out is true." Jack felt a shiver run down his spine as the implications washed over him. Could the secrets hidden in the mill have affected more than just their lives? "So where are we going?" Jack asked, steering the truck down an empty back road, trying to shake the fear that clung to him like a second skin. "There's an old diner on the outskirts of town. It's been closed for years, but I think," Tom interrupted himself, his eyes sharpening, "it's a good place to lay low for a while. We can talk there without anyone listening in." Jack nodded, gripping the wheel with newfound determination. The diner was a loathsome thought, a place filled with memories of faded neon lights and half-eaten fries. But if it meant they could uncover the truth, he would endure it. The tires of the truck crunched against gravel as they made the turn into the diner's neglected lot. It felt desolate, like the ghosts of customers long gone were still hanging around, lingering in the shadows. Tom gestured toward the back, his eyes darting as he checked for any signs of trouble. "Let us not waste time. Grab your bag," Tom urged. Jack nodded, reaching for the leather satchel that held files and evidence of their discoveries. As they stepped out of the truck, he felt the chill of the air, heavy with unspoken fears that loomed around them. They crept towards the entrance, the swinging door creaking in protest. Inside, the air was stale, filled with the scent of dust and forgotten memories. The flickering light overhead offered little comfort. Jack's heart thudded as he scanned the room, half expecting shadows to spring to life. "Stay alert," Tom whispered, positioning himself against the wall as if ready for an ambush. As they settled into a booth, the eerie silence made Jack feel like they were in an old-time movie, the kind where danger could break at any moment. Tom shifted nervously, his phone clutched tightly in his hands, and Jack knew the next steps were critical. Just then, the bell above the door jangled, and both men turned to see a figure step inside. Jack's breath hitched, his heart racing once again. Was it a friend or a foe? Would they bring new hope or deepen their troubles? "Tom?" The voice was oddly familiar, yet Jack couldn't place it. The stranger walked closer, shadows shifting across their face. Jack's instinct kicked in. They had to be ready for anything. As recognition dawned in Tom's eyes, Jack felt the tension thicken, wondering if this meeting would help them move forward or trap them further into darkness. "Who is it?" he mouthed, yet it was too late. The stranger had stepped into the light, revealing a face that would change everything they thought they knew. In that moment, Jack realized they might be staring down a path that could either bring revelation or lead to irreversible consequences. Was this alliance worth the risk? What secrets would unfold next? Jack's breath caught in his throat as the figure emerged into the light. It was a woman, her sharp features softened by the weight of recognition. "Claire," Tom breathed almost incredulously. The name echoed in the dim diner, their shared past wrapping around them like a hug, but this was no time for nostalgia. Unease flickered in Jack's chest. "Tom," Claire said, her voice warm yet edged with urgency. "I've heard about the factory. We need to talk." Jack pushed away from the table, instinctively on guard. "What do you know?" he asked, his tone clipped. Every fiber of his being was telling him to trust, but caution held him back. "More than you think," she replied, her green eyes glistening like embers. "I have information about the inspections, about what's really been happening. But we need a plan and we're short on time." Jack shared a glance with Tom, the determination in their eyes aligning. This was the moment of truth. They were no longer just trying to survive, they were ready to fight. "What do you need?" Jack asked, leaning forward, grounded by the gravity of the situation. Claire's expression turned serious. "I received a tip-off from an insider at the factory. They're planning to cover up the extent of the damage, and if we don't act, they'll bury this whole thing before anyone can stop them," she explained, urgency dripping from each word. "We need evidence, hard proof to bring to the authorities." "Can you prove it?" Jack interrupted, his mind racing. If they were to stand a chance, they'd need to expose the truth effectively. "I can get my hands on some classified documents, but I need your help to retrieve them," Claire said, her voice deliberate. "It won't be easy and we'll need to be discreet." Tom's eyes lit up with determination. "We can do this. Together." Jack felt that familiar heat of camaraderie sparking between them, igniting a flicker of hope against the backdrop of chaos. He nodded. "Okay, what's the plan?" Claire leaned closer, her voice dropping. "There's a storage facility on the outskirts of town connected to the factory. I have access to the night shift guard schedule. If Tom and I can create a distraction, you slip in and take the documents." Jack's pulse quickened at the audacity of the plan. "That's risky. We can't afford to be caught." "Trust me," Claire insisted. "With what's at stake, it's worth the risk." Then she glanced at Tom. "And I know you understand that better than anyone. Just tell me when." Tom said firmly, a determined set to his jaw. Jack took a deep breath, weighing the gravity of their decision. "Okay, we do this tonight. The sooner we act, the bigger surprise we'll throw at them." They left the diner with the weight of the world on their shoulders, the shadows of yesterday giving way to a fight for their future. Plans were set, hearts pounded with urgency, and a palpable stir of adrenaline coursed through them. As they drove under the cover of darkness towards the facility, Jack's heart raced. They were on the edge of something bigger than any of them had anticipated. Arriving at the storage unit, Jack parked at a distance, a nervous ball in his throat. "Stay safe," he whispered, locking eyes with Claire and Tom. "We've got to do this for everyone. For our families, our town." Claire gave him an encouraging nod, and Tom followed suit. "We won't let you down," Tom promised, his voice steady as rock. As they exited the truck, Jack's heart thudded like a war drum in his chest. There was no turning back now. They were diving into the unknown. Tom and Claire slipped into the shadows to initiate their distraction, while Jack crept toward the targeted building, heart racing in rhythm with his quickening breaths. He checked the surrounding area, then pressed closer to the wall, ears trained for any sign of danger. As Tom and Claire caused just the right amount of commotion, the guard turned his attention away, and Jack seized his moment. Every nerve tingled, and he could almost hear the frantic beat of his heart echo in the night air. Slipping inside was easier than he thought, adrenaline masking the fear clawing at his gut. Each step carried heavy purpose. Pushing through boxes and crates, he finally spotted the documents, dusty binders filled with damning accounts. His hand trembled as he reached for them and pulled them close to his chest. This tangible proof of corruption could be the key, a chance to shift the power back to the townspeople. Suddenly he heard the sound of footsteps approaching, heavy, deliberate. Jack's pulse quickened as panic coursed through his veins. Had they been found out? He ducked behind a crate, heart hammering like a drum in his ears. The shadows danced as light swept over the entrance. A few tense moments passed, and when the footsteps faded away, Jack let out the breath he didn't know he was holding. Without wasting another second, he darted back to the exit. Relief surged through him as he spotted Tom and Claire, their faces awash with anticipation and fear, waiting just outside. "We got it," Jack whispered breathlessly, clutching the documents tighter. The weight of his treasure felt exhilarating, the chance to bring to light every concealed wrongdoing. In that instant they were electrified by the victory, a cohesive rush flowing among them. They began their swift retreat even as they knew the danger they still faced. But strength surged through their connection, awakening a fierce determination. As they settled back into his truck, Jack felt the thrill of possibility, the spark of revolution igniting in their hearts. They could unite their town, turn despair into strength, and bring hope again. "Now what?" Claire asked, catching her breath. "We need to get this in the right hands. The media needs to know." Jack nodded, thoughts spiraling onward. "We rally the community. We need to strike while the iron's hot. Every family deserves to know the truth." With purpose as their guide, they drove into the night, hearts united by the bonds they had forged through struggle. Jack glanced at the documents, feeling the weight of change pressing down upon him. This was their moment, a chance to stand united, their community woven more tightly than ever before. And at that moment, he remembered Sarah's bright eyes, filled with dreams bursting with potential, the truth igniting a fire within him. They would fight for her future, for everyone's future. It was more than just about a factory anymore. It was about hope, resilience, and love woven into the very fabric of their lives. As dawn began to break, Jack felt a sense of triumph wash over him. They could do this. Together they could turn the tide. But first they needed to act. This was the beginning, and sometimes all it took to kindle change was a spark of courage, and the heart of a community ready to rise. Now, as Jack drove them forward, he knew the fight was far from over. But with every ounce of belief, every whisper of hope, they would craft their future into something beautiful. Join this journey, because together they were unstoppable. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of backing this channel through these actions.